guys. Welcome to the Not Just Filler podcast. We've got a fascinating podcast today. We're here in Palm, Westphalia, which is the western side of my 93rd House District. And I'm here with somebody who's been just inspiring to people in the community, is a wonderful teacher, and I can't think of a more relevant time to talk about education than in 2020 as we look what 2020 and 2021 looks like in education. So this is Cary Bashore. Cary, what do you teach?
Well, I start the day with AP Calculus. After they're messed up from that, I teach AP Psychology. And then I have a couple pre-calculus classes. And then they let me teach my passion, which is life, fitness, and health. It's a kind of a training, weightlifting, nutrition class.
Cary teaches the math classes that I tried not to take at Ovid Elsie and tries to make it understandable. So we've got just a couple questions for Cary. And I mean, you can imagine he's right in the thick of it. The admin is right in the thick of it. You as a parent or as a kid, if you're watching, are right in the thick of it. Just a fascinating and very difficult time to be in education. So we're going to go to PW right off the bat. Tell me the strength of a PW education. It's known in the community as a good school. Maybe just talk to us about the culture.
Most of our students come in with an expectation for learning. There's a support system around, and then they come into this school that reinforces that culture. And so I have two special needs sons that we've adopted, and we educate them here. My son yesterday, he's an 8th grader, and he got a call from one of our graduating seniors just to check in on him. We have a links program here, and so in our hallway, it's nothing to see students pushing other students in wheelchairs, helping. One day I lost my son after school. He's in the weight room with our state champion football team. He is being spotted at the bench press by these big hulking linemen and being encouraged, and I went, that is amazing. That's amazing. This is the school that I always dreamed I wanted to teach at.
Like a culture of collaboration.
Yes.
Like instead of competition, I guess.
Exactly. And we've got a long way to go, but there's that foundation is set.
Yeah.
And students are buying in, and teachers are buying in.
Yeah, you're not short on state championships either, again.
No, there's an expectation in this community to succeed, whether it be academic or whether it be on the sports field.
Is there a reason maybe you personally got into education? Did you always see it as your way of reaching out and blessing other people, or is this something came up during college, or where did it come from?
Well, an educator that you know as well, since we graduated from the same high school, Denny Beratono.
Oh, yeah.
Asked me to come alongside, Coach B asked me to come alongside and be the strength and conditioning coach in high school. And then he mentored me and got me started. I wanted to be the head football coach. I wanted to have a program. I wanted to win state championships. And so when I got here, I started that route, became head football coach. And then we adopted our first son. And I realized that I couldn't do both. I had the special needs son that needed me. The neat end of the story is our head football coach now is one of my former players. So I feel like I'm like a grandfather that I get to watch the kids.
It's like a mentoring success story, though.
Yeah. And it's neat to watch kids come into the classroom, and I coach their a lot of them I coach their fathers, and I know their grandparents. There is something to be said about longevity in education. I know sometimes students or teachers want to go, I'll teach you for 5 years and move on. But boy, to walk into the community and see the grandparents and see the smiles of grandma on the face of their grandchildren and go, I know whose child you are, or who's your grandma because you have her smile.
Yeah. I remember the Ovid Elsie community, we'd play football, and I'd look up in the stands, I'd see all the teachers.
Yes.
And I always thought that was a cool, like, look, they're invested, you know, in us.
Yes.
That meant a lot to me as a student.
Oh, the Jack Nutters and the Bob Forbacks. Yeah. And the Denny Baratonos, Roger Weiersberg, these guys invested in us. And I like to feel like I'm an extension of them. I feel like what they did for me, I'm bringing. I told Denny this spring, I said, your chants you used to do on the football field, I brought them to PW, and they're still going on. They're still doing those little things, those little nuances. In some way, your teaching lives on through me.
Sure.
And
There's an amazing legacy.
Oh, it is. Just I look back at my teachers and go, they don't realize I run in the park in Ovid that my phys ed teacher in 7th grade made me run in, and I find myself 50 years later running in the same park, and he doesn't know what he did for me. And then this spring, one of my former students was running in the park in Ovid, and I recognized him, and I went, oh my goodness, I had him for phys ed when he was an 8th grader. And I'm thinking, this is just amazing what educators, the power they have to influence.
Sure.
And I'm just blessed. It's just at this point in my teaching, it's a blessing to come in here every day and go, wow, in some small way, I'm helping shape this child. And we're short of educators now, and we need people that are coming in and wanting to invest. And education's their passion. It's their calling. I feel like this is what I was created by God to do. I could have went administration, but I go, wow, frontline work.
Yeah, that one-on-one.
Is where it's at. And relationships are where it's at. And I'm learning. I'm still learning. Somebody says, when are you going to retire? And I'm going, when I feel like I got this thing somewhat figured out, because I haven't. And with this new COVID thing,
I know.
I am learning to all of a sudden teach. And I have been. I've had classes that have been flipped where kids learn at home and then we come in and I reinforce it. But now these challenges, I'm thinking to myself, wow, Cary, do you want to go down this road? Because there's a lot of rethinking what education's about. We're at a workshop right now going on where teachers are taking notes on how do I deliver my curriculum online to kids at home in time, like in the moment, but also having videos, presentations where students can interact and get some kind of sense of a classroom and social. And
is that the biggest thing that kids are going to miss from doing the remote?
Yes.
Which is just the sort of like you're 10 feet away from me speaking directly to me.
Yes.
It's just not the same connection.
Those interactions, and in psychology, we do that insight, observational learning, that latent learning that you can't put a finger on. My son, my youngest son, Caleb, is got some cognitive impairments. And we bring him here because he learns from the other kids. That's how he's learning. He's not necessarily learning from the teacher. He's learning how to interact. And he ends up in a weight room because he sees the other kids lifting.
Sure.
And he wants to do that.
You think, though, you could still be effective remote teaching?
Well, that's a question to remain. This spring, the challenge was I had AP students getting ready for an AP exam in both calculus and psychology. And oh my goodness, to get them prepared for this difficult exam remotely was a challenge. We can do I guess it's similar, but it's not going to be near as effective.
Sure.
For the face-to-face, there's no other substitute.
Okay. This is going to be a really interesting year. And I can imagine, knowing you personally, that you're going to make it happen and that you're going to educate the kids just because that's your background, your passion. You know, and if it's remote, I know PW is going in person.
Yes.
But if it's remote, it's not going to be the same. You're going to put in your time. I mean, it's just because there's no stop to education.
No, and it's getting the kids to buy into what we're doing, because that was the challenge this spring is check your email every day. I'm trying to reach out to you.
Yeah.
And calling parents and emailing parents going, hey, I'm trying to reach out to your son or your daughter and they're not responding, and trying to get the kids responsible for their own education.
Yeah.
Before, and that in some way this is good. Before it was like, I'm responsible for your education. You need to choose to learn. Now it's like, if you want your education, you're going to have to check in and you're going to have to do some of the work because I can't do it all for you anymore.
Learning responsibility.
Oh my goodness. Yes. In some ways, we're asking kids to be high school kids to be like college disciplined type students, and some are ready, and some it's going to be learning curve.
It's going to be a battle. Tell me about your room, and I'll do some photos of the room today and post them on Facebook. But I feel like I'm in Harry Potter world a little bit.
Yes.
I feel like I'm in a forest. Tell me where that came from.
Well, this is early American ugly, is the way I like to display this classroom. When people say, "Hey, describe your classroom," my oldest son, when he was going here, this was his when he was in driver education. This is some old farm paint. And I wanted to make this look like a chiseled wall. And then I just, it was a little bit at a time, one wall at a time. I always look for something to add. I feel like when my students come into this classroom, I have music playing all the time. I always
That's a Coach B trick from back in the day.
Yes.
I learned about the Stones. I was a junior in high school going, "Woof, what are they talking about here?" I learned about protest music.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
But I still remember that vividly, just coming in and going, you know what, I can take a test with the Rolling Stones in the background, apparently.
Yeah, kids, their favorite song when it comes on every time, Summer Breeze by Seals Croft. They go, "Mr.
Yacht rock for the kids.
They go, and they go, "Mr. Bashore, what's this song?" I said, "Oh, this is Summer Breeze." And they'll say,
"We're going to sing it, Summer Breeze makes me feel fine."
They love the vibe. They go, that song has vibe. I said, and so
Seals and Croft, right?
Yeah. And so kids will go, "Mr. Bashore, I don't remember much about what you taught me, but I remember Summer Breeze." And I said, "That's good." They don't remember what you teach them. They remember how you made them feel and what your classroom felt like. And to be in there and the safety that you provide. And being in theater with my wife, I mean, like my fireplace and the tree in the corner is all stuff that the set designers and stuff would make out of styrofoam. And one, wow, I could put a fireplace in my corner and have it in the wintertime, a Christmas tree there, and it lit a little bit.
Sure. You're adding a little personality. You know, like I did when I did the tour and I came and talked to the kids at PW, I said, boy, I never forgot that room that felt like Hansel and Gretel, right? So I wanted to go back. I wanted to learn a little bit more. If I'm a kid, right, I'm looking, especially if I'm trying to figure out, you know, what's my learning environment, I'm struggling a little, okay, this is interesting, add something.
Yeah, during my conference, kids will just come in if they're doing room and say, "Can I just sit in your classroom and do my work?" And at lunchtime, "Can I just hang out in your classroom?" So I have guitars usually in the corner, and I want it to be a place that's inviting, that kids go, "I just want to hang out here."
Yeah.
And so that's where you get your relationships.
Yeah.
And so if I find a piece of driftwood, if I find a stone, I put sayings on things. I got sayings on the wall. Like with the one above all else, guard your heart. That comes from a very wise book. And that to me is my secret with teaching is I got to guard my heart. A teacher has got to keep a good attitude, keep positive, and convey that all the time, because you can get negative, you can get pessimistic. And so my biggest thing
especially in 2020.
In 2020, it's so hard to guard your heart and to keep it positive. Go, we're going to get through this, and we're going to be better. And there is hope for the future.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a big part of pretty much everyone's message, part of education, the parents and the admin, because it feels like every week there's something maybe negative or a change in the uncertainty. And just to say, we're going to do this together. We're going to be result based. It's going to be difficult. It's not going to be as good as usual, but there's some hope at the end of this.
Exactly.
And
when I had my first student that passed away in school, I came into the classroom the next day and said, "I've never been through this before, kids." I said, "None of you probably have." I said, we're going to learn. We're going to give each other grace, and we're going to learn through this experience. And I think it's the same thing, is we got to give each other grace. Yeah. And we've got to go, okay, we've never been this. We're doing this all together. This is what life looks like. It's uncertain anyways. And so let's learn. That's been one of my messages throughout, which is I don't have all the answers. Yeah. If somebody, I guess in government or anywhere, says they do have the answers, they probably don't.